magic happens here. Children that come right outside of that school and they have a chance to jump into the garden. Kids are able to jump into our kitchen, make recipes together, talk about the food system, and then come outside and actually put their hands to work, put their hands right in the dirt to learn where their food comes from, to compost, to seed, to harvest, to water, to nurture. That's what happens here.
We were lucky to transform a parking lot into an organic edible garden with a kitchen classroom and a greenhouse for the kids.
The reason why there's often a parking lot behind a public school like this is that these were gardens for the school. And in the Depression, they used them to make food. When people didn't have as much food. The U.S. was a much more agrarian society back then, and they saw, agricultural education as being an important part of what urban kids could learn. What edible education does is layer food, cooking and growing food on top of existing curriculum. If you're studying math, you come into the kitchen, you talk about measurements. If you're studying science, obviously you're looking at, fertilization of the plants and the soil and things like that. If you're studying history, they do things where they plant the same kinds of vegetables that Native Americans would have planted.
Historically, food and cities were much more integrated. And I think this is where architecture and design comes in. There is a communication aspect to it, that this is about being together in the city and defining what this together is. Making things visible so that people understand, especially, in this case, children. And then making things beautiful, making things sort of accessible. It's not just production of food, it's the experience of being together. It's creating a community, it's having pleasure.
We did about 2,000 lessons with our students, with about 1,800 extracurriculars, and that means having parents come out and do cooking nights. That means after school work. 97% of our students tried the foods that we cook. And last year we did about 1,300 food distributions, which means we're getting out recipe kits out to families where they have all the things they need to make something delicious at home, that their kids can advocate because they probably made it in the classroom already, as well as pantry bags that has some of the harvest from our gardens. 1 million children in New York City public schools, and 54% of them are economically disadvantaged. We know that schools have become these hubs for food, but also community centers. Most people don't know where their food comes from.
It really has the possibility to transform kids at a very young age and really change the way they think about food and about gardens and nature and being outside and education. And
so having that understanding of where food comes from and what it does for your body is going to help change children's relationships with food. And that's our goal at Edible Schoolyard, to help children change their relationship with food and have a healthy path towards living a healthy life.